Hi guys, so here we have it. And it seems Nadhim Zahawi, the Education Secretary, was the one who was picked to let us all know it will be a whitewash. So Boris Johnson went from saying that he didn't attend any parties at Number 10 to saying no parties took place, to saying that the guidance was followed, to it was a work event and he should have told people to go inside. Then he said he didn't know he was actually breaking any rules. During this lame attempt to protect himself, he quoted Sue Gray and her report almost as many times as he said "Get Brexit done" back in 2019. I've said that Sue Gray's report will likely not contain anything that will result in Boris Johnson being forced to resign. Now we have this, the Education Secretary telling us we will see the findings, not the report. What?
So the terms of reference for Sue Gray his report is that the findings of her report will be made public, and the Prime Minister has pledged that he will come to Parliament to then make a statement and be scrutinised by colleagues.
How the heck can he be scrutinised by colleagues if the terms of reference are just to release the findings? How can you scrutinise him if you just have the findings? You don't actually have the report itself. So what's happening is Boris Johnson is going to, through Sue Gray, is going to release the report, but not the report, just the summary, just the findings. And the findings will no doubt, I hope I'm wrong here, and I'll correct myself if I'm wrong, but I'm under the strong belief that the findings will say something like Boris Johnson acted in bad judgment. He should have told people to go back inside, but it's not within the scope of this report to make judgments that, for example, Boris Johnson should resign. It will not say that. It will be up to the Prime Minister to decide. And of course, Boris Johnson will go to Parliament and he'll read off the findings, but he will not release the report. A whitewash. What was the point of this investigation? If at the end of it, it's just going to make some sort of recommendation, or it's going to suggest that Boris Johnson maybe should have done this or maybe should have done that, but it's not going to actually suggest what happens to Boris Johnson, because Boris Johnson himself will decide. And Boris Johnson is withholding the report. How is that? How can he be scrutinised on the summary, on the findings, and not on the report itself?
On the findings of that report.
Yeah, so findings is different, isn't it? So from what you're saying, it suggests it's not going to be published.
That's the terms of reference, he said. Isn't it convenient that he's saying it now and he didn't say it at the beginning? Because the terms of reference would have been decided at the beginning. When Sue Gray began her report, the Tories and Boris Johnson would have said to her, the terms of reference, we're going to release the findings, not the report. But isn't it convenient that they're saying it now? And they didn't say it at the beginning. Isn't it, Nadhim Zahawi was on TV many times since the beginning of this saga. And at no stage did he say, remember people, you're not going to see the report. You're just going to see the findings. Boris Johnson himself, when he was talking about Sue Gray and her report, never did he say, remember, you're not going to see the report, but you'll see the findings, okay? Just so the people are clear. No, of course they didn't, because then people would say, what? Why not? Why can we not see the report? Why are you only releasing the findings? Now they're saying it because we're close to the moment where it's going to be released, and it's going to, in a sense, protect Boris Johnson.
In full, given the amount of public interest in this matter, wouldn't it be the right thing to do to choose to publish it in full? Because this is about public confidence, about everyone's experiences during the pandemic and wanting to know the full truth of the matter as found by Sue Gray.
And the findings of Sue Gray's report will be made public. That is the terms of reference. That's the right thing. I think that will ensure that her findings are made public. That will ensure public confidence.
How can you have public confidence if you're saying, we have a report, but we're not going to show it to you? That's just taking the public for mugs. You've been telling people for the last number of weeks, wait for Sue Gray's report. Don't judge Boris Johnson. Everyone should be equal under the law. But don't judge Boris Johnson. We have to wait for Sue Gray's report. And we've waited and waited and waited. And now that Sue Gray is about to release her report, you're saying, yes, but we're not going to show you all of it. We're going to show you the bits that are okay for Boris Johnson. And don't worry, Boris Johnson is going to return to Parliament so he can be, quote unquote, scrutinised. But how can MPs scrutinise him if they can't see the report? A whitewash. And he talks about public confidence. It's just taking the piss here.
This is exactly what she should be doing. She can follow the evidence wherever it takes her. I've said this on your programme many times, and she's doing exactly that. It's thorough and complete, and the findings will be made public, and the Prime Minister will submit himself to Parliament and make a statement and be scrutinised on this.
How do we know if she has seen all the evidence, if we can't see the report? Now, the reason they're not releasing the report is to protect Boris Johnson, but not just him. I believe it's also to protect other people. Because if Sue Gray did a thorough investigation, then she would probably make references to people who attended those parties, when those parties took place. How many people were in attendance? What was happening in those parties? But she's not going to say that. Well, it'll be within her report, but her report will not be made public. So the general public have to just go on the, Boris Johnson's statement. Because Sue Gray's report will contain a lot of information, but no one will be able to actually see it. What a pathetic government. What a pathetic party. And Boris Johnson is a pathetic individual. He's been banging on about, wait for Sue Gray and her report, wait for Sue Gray and her report. It will contain everything. She can go everywhere. She can interview whoever she wants. But at the end of the day, we'll never know who she interviewed, who attended these parties, when they took place, what was happening at these parties, because we have to protect Boris Johnson. Now, I wonder what's going to happen if, following this, Boris Johnson resigns. Will we see the report? Because if we don't, it means that number 10, even though Boris Johnson is no longer there, is protecting other individuals. Because there's a likelihood that there are members of the cabinet who are attending parties and attending some of these parties. And they have put pressure on Sue Gray not to release, or they have decided that Sue Gray will release the findings and not the report. I think this report, if it's a thorough one, but I have my doubts about that, but if it was a thorough report, it would embarrass a lot of people. And it could, if Boris Johnson is forced to resign, then others would have to resign too. So this, once again, will be a whitewash. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?